Hi everybody, Jake here. Today we're going to take a look at the Tac Force Speedster TF820. This is an assisted flipper knife. And first we're just going to run over some specs real quick. Got a 5-inch handle here, pretty large. A 3.14-inch blade. So if you live in an area where anything over 3 inches is illegal, this is not the knife for you. Or flippers for that matter. So overall length is going to be 8.14. The weight is about 6 ounces or so. It's very heavy in addition to be a very large knife. And let's do some size comparisons here real quick. First up, we just have a little Japanese friction folder. Got the CRKT Fulcrum 2 Compact. And then we have the Spyderco Bird Finch 2. Did this in my last video as well, but I'm just going to show you here. The Finch 2 can fit in the handle of the Tac Force there, which is interesting. So this is a knife on the opposite end of the spectrum from that one, because this one is not light, it is not short, it is not compact. It's not for the same kind of tasks as that. So first we're just going to run over some things that I like about the knife. The ergonomics, surprisingly, are not bad. Even this part back here doesn't really cut into your hand that much, which surprised me. Holding it's pretty good. There's some jimping back here that does nothing really. It doesn't jut out enough for your finger to really catch on it. However, the jimping on the liner lock certainly does help. You can see how far that pokes out there. This kind of sweeping curve here certainly helps as well with your bottom 3 fingers. You can see they kind of lock in there. So this is, you can get a really good grip on this knife, especially because of how large it is there. And it's just pleasant to hold. That's probably honestly one of my favorite things about this knife is holding it. The flipping is really good. It is assisted, so I'm not a big fan of assisted knives, but I haven't. You can apply minimum pressure, and once you get past that certain point, which seems to be right about here, it just kind of goes up on its own. So I haven't had any trouble opening it. I'm not a big fan of thumb studs. I kind of hate them, but this one's okay. You can usually get it open with it, especially if you put some wrist in it. And pretty much guaranteed to open it there. It does lock up very well once you do have it. There's no blade play at all, which is surprising for a knife in this price range. I really expected there to be some, vertical or horizontal blade play, but there's none noticeable at all. Let's see. And also, something pretty strange about this knife here. It has a bronze washer right at that pivot and a Teflon washer at that pivot. I don't know why they chose 2 separate kinds of washers. Maybe somebody can tell me in the comments if they have any ideas. But I wish they had just gone with bronze. But at this price range, you really can't complain that much. Last thing I love about this knife is this inch of serrated blade right here. I would never pick this knife up again if it didn't have those serrations. Those are useful in a ton of situations. You can chop down trees with them, probably, maybe. Bread, super easy to slice through. Only using that inch. No, don't go up any farther. But right here, you're golden. Alright, kind of some stuff I'm neutral towards. The appearance, it is a very tactical knife. You're not going to pull this out in an office and expect everyone to just ignore you. It has tac force. It's a tactical looking knife. The glass breaker I could do without, but it's there as well. And I also, during my recent disassembly, I believe that is plastic, actually. It's a plastic glass breaker. So take that for what you will. And the blade shape is okay. Wish there were more serrations. I can only cut bread with this part. And if I had more, I could probably chop down bigger trees, which would be cool. And also the single Teflon washer. I don't dislike it. Again, in this price range, you can't expect really much more. But kind of wish they went ahead and made that bronze if they were going to do one. Or at least, taking it from another knife. Last time I popped it on this one. It's whatever though. To the bad, because this is a pretty long list here. You can see there the, let's see if we can get the focus. Almost. There we go. Sorry for the shake there. So you can see this is 440 stainless. Look at that though. Handmade. Let's see. Handmade in China. Handmade. This is probably some 4-year-old's preschool project. But the steel, the 440, again, this price range, this is like a gas station knife. It's generally less than $10. So you can't expect much. You can't even expect AUS 8 or 8CR13 MOV at this price. You're going to get 440. You may find a better value knife out there, but for $10, it's typically what you're going to get. The weight is another big demerit for me. This is a very, very heavy knife. Extremely heavy. In comparison to most other knives. You know, I'd say most knives are usually less than 5 ounces. This actually weighs more than my Leatherman Skeletal. It is easier for me to carry the Skeletal than it is for me to carry this knife. Let's see. Another problem is the clip. Now, I've had this knife for probably about 2 or 3 years now. The clip broke off fairly early. It just broke. So I went ahead and removed the last screw or two that was holding it in and took it out because it had fallen off with just leaving the part that was screwed in. And when the clip was installed, this is a tip down only carry. I don't completely hate tip down only carry. I prefer tip up, but it's fine. But a big problem with this is if you have it in your pocket, so you're right-handed like me, you're going to have this in your right pocket. It's going to be sitting there like this. When you go to pull that knife out, if there's a little dip in your pocket, it can very easily catch on this flipper tab and flip that knife out. It does not take much force at all to flip this knife. You can barely push it and it will shoot right out. That can be dangerous, so I prefer not to. Usually now that the clip's broken off, I carry this knife, I just put it down my pocket, typically like this, pull it out. That way, even if this does catch, it's not going to activate the blade. So we can avoid any accidents. The liner lock here is very, very shallow. It is extremely shallow. It seems to be barely gripping this. Also, you can kind of see the detent. I'm not even going to call it a detent ball. The detent dot there, because that's what it is. It's just, it's poor quality construction. And while we're here, you can see the blade centering is kind of garbage. It is extremely favoring the presentation side of the knife. Very, very, very heavily. And the last thing that I dislike about this knife really is the pivots. So you can see these are very unusual pivots. Very, very strange. I did disassemble this knife. It was not all that hard once you got the pivots out. You can see there are torque screws here. Get that to focus. There we go. I apologize for that again. So there are Torx bits there. And I believe those are Torx 6. So once you remove those, generally you can, because this is a free turning pivot, you can just press on this side. And then typically you can kind of, there we go. You can see, you can get it to come out and you can go from there. Pretty straightforward after you do that. You can remove this steel slab and you get to the assist spring, etc. You can go through the knife. But that pivot, I just wish they went ahead and done a Torx for the pivot. There's no point in having this thing there. Just something else against this knife. Now, everything that I've said so far, it sounds like this knife's terrible, but for the price, it's really not. I've handled worse knives for more. This knife is going to run you about $10. Some places you can get it $6 or $7. And for that price, it's not a terrible knife. Now, would I, or do I rather, carry this? Typically not. It is way too heavy. I don't like assist knives. I don't like thumb studs. It's almost to the point of being dangerous. It has this hideous H here as well. I don't know what that's for. No, the other side. It's not for me. I typically don't carry it. If I have something where I have to beat on a knife a little bit, this is it. And you can kind of see that from the back spacer there. It's pretty dinged up, which is plastic, by the way, in comparison to all this steel all over this whole freaking knife. Plastic back spacer there. I don't carry that much anymore, but I used to carry the Birdfinch 2 over this any day because that was usually all I needed. And it's ridiculous because you get about the same amount of blade. Maybe, quarter inch less, half an inch less, but this is usually what I needed. I never found myself missing this knife when I didn't have it. So, if you're looking for something tactical, heavy duty, at a super cheap price, which I would not recommend, go ahead and get this. It'll work great for that. Is it dangerous? I don't know. I haven't experienced any issues with it, but that's just me. You could get a bad one. I wouldn't press my luck. Generally, I would try to spend more on a knife if I were you, but that's completely your decision. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next review.